Afternoon 12C, or evening, whenever you're watching this. We're going to kick on with Gatsby chapter 7 here, and let's just remember where we are. So Tom is currently driving Gatsby's yellow circus wagon, as he calls it, and Jordan has made him pull over. She's concerned about the heat making the engine explode, and he's pulled over at Wilson's garage. This leads Tom to find out that Wilson is planning to move west and take, obviously, Myrtle with him. However, also, crucially, Myrtle has, from upstairs, peering out of the window, has been peering down at the car. So Myrtle sees this yellow vehicle and believes it's Tom's, which is going to be vital when we get to her ultimate death. Okay, so let's move on. So there's no confusion like the confusion of a simple mind. Nick clearly being very disparaging towards Tom here. Quite rightly so, you might agree. And as we drove away, Tom was feeling the hot whips of panic. His wife and his mistress, until an hour ago secure and inviolate, were slipping precipitately from his control. Now, perhaps Tom's greatest fear is losing control. And in the last lesson, we drew this spiral, showing how in chapter 7, Tom's control is waning, and it's waning rapidly. All these notes that you took, showing that everything is very swiftly slipping from his grasp. Instinct made him step on the accelerator with the double purpose of overtaking Daisy and leaving Wilson behind. And as we sped along the Astoria at 50 miles an hour, until, among the spidery gardens of the Elevated, which was the elevated train track, we came in sight of the easygoing blue coupe. Those big movies around 50th Street are cool, suggested Jordan. I love New York on summer afternoons when everyone's away. There's something very sensuous about it. Overripe, as if all sorts of funny fruits are going to fall into your hands. The word sensuous had the effect of further disquieting Tom. But before he could invent a protest, the coupe came to a stop, and Daisy signalled us to draw up alongside. This word that Jordan uses, sensuous, why does it have this effect of disquieting Tom? Well, clearly it's touched a nerve. It creates Tom's unease, his disquieting. Perhaps it shows that there's a lack of sensuality in his relationship with, well, perhaps with both Daisy and with Myrtle. And the fact that Jordan's talking about sensuality really disturbs him and puts him on edge. He knows what's going on with Gatsby, and he knows that if she's having a relationship with Gatsby, that's probably the sensuality that she's not getting from him. Quite interesting that Daisy signalled us to draw up alongside. So Daisy perhaps taking control now, linking back to Tom's loss of control. She's telling them where to go. However, then she calls, "Where are we going?" she cried. "How about the movies?" We don't know who says this, but... "It's so hot," she complained. "You go. We'll ride around and meet you after." With an effort, her wit rose faintly. "We'll meet you some corner. I'll be the man smoking 2 cigarettes." So she's kind of making a little joke here. It's incognito image that she's trying to create. So what she does, she asks, and then as soon as an idea pops up, she disagrees. Well, did she just ask to get them to come up with an idea so that she could deliberately make an excuse and say, "No, we don't want to do that. I'll stay with Gatsby"? Perhaps that's what she's done at this appearance. "We can't argue about it here," said Tom impatiently, as a truck gave out a cursing whistle behind us. "You follow me to the south side of Central Park, in front of the plaza," said Tom, taking control again. Several times he turned his head and looked back from their car. As if the traffic delayed them, he slowed up until they came into sight. I think he was afraid they would dart down a side street and out of his life forever. So clearly he wants to keep their car in sight for fear that they're going to disappear, and that's it, gone. Again, loss of control. But they didn't. Right, Nick at this, or I would say Fitzgerald at this point, is foregrounding. We talked about this word earlier, a few chapters ago. This, "but they didn't," should actually, grammatically, just go straight after the full stop here. But Fitzgerald starts a new paragraph with it. So where he's saying, I think he was afraid that they would dart out down a side street and out of his life forever, it deliberately makes the reader pause there and kind of imagine this. So maybe, imagine that they both actually disappear from Tom's life. Maybe Nick, in having this deliberate pause, suggests that Gatsby and Daisy missed the opportunity. He starts a new paragraph, but they didn't. So they missed an opportunity at this point. And we took the less explicable step of engaging the parlour of a suite at the Plaza Hotel. The prolonged and tumultuous argument that ended by herding us into that room eludes me. So I'm not sure why they ended up there, though I have a sharp physical memory that in the course of it my underwear kept climbing like a damp snake around my legs, and intermittent beads of sweat raced cool across my back. The notion originated with Daisy's suggestion that we hire 5 bathrooms and take cold baths, and then assumed a more tangible form as a place to have a mint julep, which is a type of cocktail. Each of us said over and over that it was a crazy idea. We all talked at once, and a baffled clerk, and thought, or pretended to think, that we were being very funny. The room was large and stifling, and though it was already 4 o'clock, opening the windows admitted only a gust of hot shrubbery from the park. Daisy went to the mirror and stood with her back to us, fixing her hair. So Daisy standing with her back to the rest of the group. Self-absorption from Daisy here. "It's a swell suite," whispered Jordan respectfully, and everyone laughed. We've got this pretended to think that we're being very funny, and we've got everyone laughing. Well, what Jordan says isn't really funny, is it? I don't think she's deliberately trying to be humorous. So perhaps this is a pretense. They're trying to laugh, they're deliberately trying to lighten the mood to cover the tension, this extreme tension that is just raising, especially amongst the heat. "Open another window," commanded Daisy. Look at this imperative, commanded Daisy, without turning around. So again, self-absorption. She doesn't take her eyes from the mirror, like to stare at herself. "There aren't any more. Well, we'd better telephone for an axe." "The thing to do is forget about the heat," said Tom impatiently. "You make it 10 times worse by crabbing about it." He unrolled a bottle of whiskey from the towel and put it on the table. "Why not let her alone, old sport?" remarked Gatsby. "You're the one that wanted to come into town." Gatsby's openly challenging Tom right now. Now, if you remember last lesson, who really wanted to come in town? Whose idea was it? It wasn't Tom's at all. It was Daisy's. She was the first person who said, "Let's go into town." So either Gatsby is deliberately defending Daisy, knowing that she was the one who suggested it, or he just wants to challenge Tom. He wants to bring this to a head now. There was a moment of silence. The telephone book slipped from its nail and splashed to the floor, whereupon Jordan whispered, "Excuse me," but this time no one laughed, the tension really rising now. "I'll pick it up," I offered. "I've got it." Gatsby examined the parted string, muttered, in an interested way, and tossed the book on a chair. "That's a great expression of yours, isn't it?" said Tom sharply. "What is?" "All this old sport business. Where do you pick that up?" He's deliberately antagonising Gatsby now, isn't he? Now here, see, Tom," said Daisy, turning round from the mirror. So this finally makes her turn round. Challenging Gatsby makes her turn around. "If you're going to make personal remarks, I won't stay here a minute. Call up and order some ice from the mint julep." As Tom took up the receiver, so the telephone receiver, the compressed heat, something ready to boil, exploded into sound, and we were listening to the portentous chords of Mendelssohn's Wedding March. And, as if by magic, look at that. Well, I never. The Mendelssohn's Wedding March just suddenly appears right on cue there. I've got one of these magic books. So there's a deep irony, isn't there? That at this moment of great tension, two relationships hanging in the balance, we get this wedding march from the ballroom below. And this is going to be important because it leads Daisy to start reminiscing about her marriage to Tom. Let's think about it. Imagine marrying anybody in this heat, cried Jordan dismally. Ever the cynic, old Jordan. Still, I was married in the middle of June, Daisy remembered. Louisville in June. Somebody fainted. Who was it fainted, Tom? Biloxi, he answered shortly. A man named Biloxi. Blocks Biloxi. And he made boxes. That's a fact. And he was from Biloxi, Tennessee. This